Welcome to Civics in a Year, the podcast that makes civic literacy fast, accessible, and surprisingly engaging. In just 10 minutes an episode, we'll tackle one of 250 essential questions about American democracy, how it works, why it matters, and what it means for you. Whether you're a student, a teacher, or just someone who wants to better understand your country and your rights, you're in the right place. Civics in a Year is powered by the Civic Literacy Curriculum from the Center for American Civics and is produced in partnership with the School of Civic and Economic Thought and Leadership at Arizona State University. Welcome back, everyone. I am very excited. We have a new scholar. So today we are joined by Dr. Phillip Muñoz, the Tocqueville Professor of Political Science and concurrent Professor of Law at the University of Notre Dame, go Irish, where he also serves as the founding director of the Center for Citizenship and Constitutional Government. Dr. Muñoz, thank you so much for being here. Our question today is, what is the idea of a social contract and how did it influence our founders?
Well, thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be on the show. So the idea of a social contract, or what the founders might say, the social compact, it gets at the idea of how do we form a political community. You could say, look, the family is natural, right? Man and woman come together and they form a family, and there's natural authority. The parents have authority over the children, and parents have a duty to raise the children, and the children have a duty to obey the parents, and that's all generated by nature. But when you take lots of different families and people who are unrelated, and we form together to make a political community, who gets to govern? If we're all equal, all human beings are created equal, well, who gets to rule? And the idea of the social contract or the social compact is, well, we agree as equals to come together into a political community. We write a constitution for ourselves, and we set up a system of government, including rules for how we select our government officials. And that idea of coming together as a political community, of creating a constitution, is the social compact. And then the question is, well, what makes for a legitimate social compact? So that's the underlying idea. These ideas are present in our founding documents, including the Declaration of Independence.
What would make someone want to enter into a social compact? Because, we've talked about on the podcast the state of nature, and I'm thinking if I'm a student, right? What is the benefit of me entering into a social compact in my classroom or anything like that?
Well, the social compact, at least in the context we're talking about, is a political arrangement. Mm-hmm. So take the revolutionaries in 1776. They're overthrowing a government. Mm-hmm. They were colonists, right? And the King of England was the ultimate authority in Parliament, and they're subject to the king. And they said, look, this government is unjust. We want to govern ourselves, and we're going to declare revolution and throw off a tyrannical ruler and a tyrannical system of government. Okay, well, once we do that, well, how do we form together? So once you overthrow the king, well, who gets to rule? And the reasons you want to form a social compact are because, well, we need a system of law. Also, it's a system of anarchy. That's the state of nature. The state of nature is just the idea that there's no authority. And a situation in which there's no authority is an insecure situation. It's a dangerous situation. And so we form the social compact first and foremost so we can have a system of law to protect our lives and property and have security, but also because you need a political community for human flourishing, right? For the arts, for universities, for commerce. So Aristotle says, and this is true of the founders, that you form a political community for mere life, but the purpose or goal of the community is the good life.
So is it fair to say that, within these social compacts or contracts is the ultimate freedom? So in a state of nature, you're not really free because you're insecure. You don't have kind of those protections that you said
that are listed, we've talked about in our declaration, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, or life, liberty, and property, that without a social contract, there's no actual freedom.
Yeah, I mean, just think about you want to enter into an agreement, right? I have candy bars and you have a book, and I'll trade you three candy bars for your one book. But I don't have the candy bars, so you give me the book, and I said I'll give you the candy bars tomorrow. Well, what happens if I don't give you the candy bars? Well, you complain to me and say, "Hey, you owe me candy bars. You took the book." And what if I don't do it? Well, if there's no system of government, you have to come, clobber me over the head and punish me. But if there's a system of government, you can say, look, I'm going to hire a lawyer and we're going to adjudicate this dispute through the law. Now, of course, I should just give you the candy bars as I promised, but sometimes disputes arise, and a system of law is a way we live together harmoniously and peacefully, both to adjudicate disputes like a contract dispute, but also if I steal your book and a system of punishment. So we need law to live together justly. Justice is the ultimate aim of law. And it's not only that we want to live, we want to live under rules of justice. And a good system of law facilitates rules of justice. It allows for prosperity, it allows for religious freedom. It allows people with diverse interests to live together, as I say, well and according to principles of justice. So all of we want to be in a social compact so we can live well.
So I do have a couple questions. So we're using social contract and compact interchangeably, correct? So
Correct.
You can say either one. And then for our listeners that might not know what the word adjudicate means, could you help us out with that?
Yeah, just how do we need a judge adjudicates, right? A way to settle disputes. Right, so even just simple things. Take very elementary things. Maybe you drove to school this morning. Think about all the order it takes to coordinate 1,000 cars on the road at the same time. It's a
Yes.
very simple thing. We're so used to it. If you go to a country where there's no rules of the road, it's total chaos. But the fact that the light turns red, people stop. They take their turn. When the light goes green, they go. Hopefully they don't drive too fast. They drive all that coordination, not to mention someone to build the roads and maintain the roads. All the things we take for granted, we need a system of law and government to help secure. Being able to travel, to see our friends, go to school, have jobs, and that coordination is actually extremely complicated to coordinate thousands and thousands of people on something which is dangerous. Driving a car is dangerous. If you get hit by a car, it's very dangerous. And it's just an everyday thing we all experience. But the level of coordination and sophistication, that's in part what a good government can do.
I love that you brought that up because I'm thinking about dropping my daughter off at school and she's at high school and there are a ton of cars. However, as a citizen of the road, I internally agree to drive the speed limit, to obey traffic signs, because if not, I get frustrated with school drop off because there's so many people. But when you put it that way, it's like all of these parents and all of these adults are agreeing to these rules of the road, where to drop your students off. But if we didn't, it would be chaos. And if we didn't, there could be a lot of harm, because if people are driving 100 miles an hour in a school zone, that's a problem.
But just imagine when you get picked up from school or you do the school drop off. Imagine if all these kids are being dropped off or picked up from school at the same time and no one has set up the rules by how you do it. You'd have all these parents arriving at the same time in every different direction and trying to find their kids, and it would be total chaos. I refused actually to pick up my kids because I can't stand being in the drop-off line and waiting. But as much as the drop-off line is painful, imagine if there was no line and you just showed up and parked somewhere and had to find your kids, right? And then you'd have kids walking around looking for their parents and people driving every which way. and it'd be very dangerous. So that coordination, now we can do it voluntarily, schools by themselves, but now think of not just a school, but a whole city, a whole country. That's where you need a system of law.
Yes. Dr. Munoz, thank you so much. I really appreciated your examples today because I think that no matter who our listener is, they can understand the impact of a social compact and the influences it's had on our founders. So I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Civics in a Year. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and share it with someone who cares about a constitutional republic as much as you do. For more episodes, resources, and updates, follow us on social media or visit us at civics.asu.edu. Make sure to check out the show notes for any relevant links. Special thanks to the United States Marine Band for their performance of the Stars and Stripes Forever. Let's keep building a stronger constitutional republic, one episode at a time.